The Nut Job. Or around the world, it's also known as Operation Nutcracker. Yet, despite the packaging, when you actually play it, regardless of language setting, the title still comes up as Nut Job. Now, they released this in 3D in North America, and it's quite easy and cheap to come by. I happened to order this French version by mistake, but I've never seen this before, so it's all good. What I find here is it's a very shallow 3D experience with maybe 2 shots where they throw something out at you. Large portions of this movie are really only stereo in the foreground. It feels like the stereo exists for about an inch in and out of the screen. Sometimes when cartoons leave the background flat, it can look like actors in front of a projection screen. And here, though, they blend it well. We get some shots where we do look across the street or even a park. And though you can see into the distance, the stereo is still kept very tight. So when you go back to a more typical shot of just foreground elements being in stereo against the flat background, your brain just seamlessly goes with it. And you would actually have to pause to really figure that out. Now, I'm inclined to say things like, I've seen worse. It's okay. But really, it's a disappointing and bland stereo experience. I'm afraid to say that there are some not bad moments doesn't really make up for all the untapped potential here, which is all the more disappointing being a CGI cartoon where, unlike live action where what you film can be kind of more baked into the end result, here it was very much a choice to make it this way. Much of this movie would have benefited from a wider stereo base, and there are moments when the camera cranes the attention from the actors to some far-off action that would have tremendously benefited from some dynamic shifting of that stereo width to bring attention to what we're looking at. Not just attention, but perhaps even a little excitement to what we're looking at. Now, often I am disappointed with attempts to show heights in stereo, but here I actually felt the 3D worked the best when we were looking at a character who was on a rooftop and looking down to the street below. And I believe this was because these shots actually rendered the background in stereo, and by comparison to the other shallow scenes, they just looked deeper. So that really drove home the sense of heights. Now, the film itself isn't too bad. I wouldn't categorize it as a must-see, but it makes good use of its time. It was a successful movie, and they made a sequel, which is also in 3D, which I haven't seen yet. The lead is unapologetically out for himself, but is not actually mean. He has a buddy, and together they're kind of like a light version of the cartoon Pinky and the Brain. And there's an interesting plot point about a plan to keep food scarce as a means of controlling the animal society. Sadly, that might be a timely thing. Also, I notice the woman squirrel in this movie works with her male counterpart rather than belittling or attempting to replace or conquering him, which is kind of rare to see this kind of shall we say, respectful attitude in movies nowadays. I'm actually kind of curious if that changes in the sequel.